Okay, so imagine this. A place, right? So unsettling, so just steeped in hidden lore and this ancient evil that even the landscape itself seems to be working against you.
Yeah.
And what if a family, just seemingly ordinary, maybe not so ordinary, was the key? The key to unlocking something truly monstrous, not just for their village, but maybe for the whole world.
Right, that's the hook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've given us these incredible excerpts from H.P. Lovecraft's the Dunwich Horror, just chillin' stuff. And in this deep dive, we're going to peel back those layers.
Get into the thick of it.
Our mission, basically, is to navigate the really dense, unsettling vibe of Dunwich. We'll trace the lineage, the Whiteley family, and try to uncover the full scope, the terrifying scope of the cosmic horror that eventually just erupts.
Yeah. Looking at the disturbing details, but also those bigger questions, about existence, sanity, where our reality kind of ends.
Absolutely. So let's start with the setting, Dunwich itself. If you were ever driving in, say, north central Massachusetts, take a wrong turn. You might just end up there.
You probably wouldn't want to.
Probably not. And right from the start, you get this sense that something is just profoundly wrong with this place. What really jumps out at you about its geography, its whole atmosphere?
Well, what's really striking, I think, is how the environment itself becomes a character. It's steeped in this pervasive ancient dread.
It feels alive almost.
Exactly. You've got those briar-bordered stone walls, the trees that are too large, weeds that are unnaturally luxuriant.
Yeah.
It all suggests a place that's fundamentally resisting human settlement.
Like nature reclaiming it, but in a bad way.
In a very bad way.
Yeah.
The houses, uniformly old, squalid, dilapidated, and the people, these gnarled, silent figures you see now and then. It just adds to this feeling of forbidden things lurking. Even the mountains are described as too rounded and symmetrical, often topped with these queer circles of tall stone pillars.
Yeah, stone circles are creepy.
Super creepy. And you've got gorges of problematical depth, marshlands, that one instinctively dislikes. Even the Miskatonic River up there has an oddly serpent-like suggestion.
So everything about it feels off-kilter.
Everything. The village itself is huddled between the stream and a mountain slope full of rotting gambrel roofs. Most houses are just deserted. It's basically a rundown store now.
Wow.
And there's this smell, a faint malign odor about the village street, as of the massed mold and decay of centuries. You can almost smell it.
Yeah, no wonder outsiders stay away. We even hear the signboards were taken down after a certain season of horror. So what about the people who actually live there? The source describes them in a pretty shocking way.
Yeah, it raises that question, doesn't it? How does a place like this shape its people? They're described as repellently decadent.
That's a strong phrase.
It is, showing retrogression, stigmata, degeneracy, and inbreeding. Their average intelligence is woefully low, apparently. And their history, it just reeks of overt viciousness, hidden murders, incest, deeds, almost unnameable.
So it's generations of this decay.
Exactly. Lovecraft's idea of isolated communities just turning inward in the worst ways. Only a few old families, like the Whiteleys and the Bishops who came from Salem back in 1692, interestingly have managed to stay somewhat above the general level of decay. But they have their own issues.
And this weirdness in Dunwich, it's not new, right? You mentioned legends, that chilling sermon.
Precisely. It's not like this horror just appeared. There are old legends about unhallowed rites and conclaves of the Indians calling up forbidden shapes of shadow from the hills with these wild orgiastic prayers.
Prayers that were answered, apparently.
Yeah, answered by loud crackings and rumblings from the ground below. Then, jump forward to 1747, Reverend Abijah Hoadley preaches about the close presence of Satan and his imps, saying these cursed voices of Azazel and Buzrael were heard underground by living witnesses.
And he heard them himself.
He claimed he caught a very plain discourse of evil powers in the hill behind my house, with rattling, rolling, groaning, screeching, hissing, things that this earth could raise up. And then he vanished. Poof.
Disappeared.
Wow. And the noises in the hills just kept going, baffling geologists later on. Other stories mention foul odors near those stone circles, rushing airy presences from ravines. There's even the Devil's Hop Yard, a totally blasted hillside where nothing grows.
It's like the land itself is cursed in spots.
Completely. And the locals, they're mortally afraid of whippoorwills. They think they're psychopumps, soul catchers, waiting for people to die.
Soul catchers.
Yeah. They believe the birds time their cries to the dying person's breath. If they catch the soul, they flutter off, chittering in demoniac laughter. If not, they just go quiet. It's incredibly macabre.
That is deeply unsettling folk belief.
And it all points to how old Dunwich is. Ridiculously old, the text says, older than towns around it. You've got houses built before 1700, and those stone circles on the hills, they're the oldest things around. Maybe Pocumtuck Indian sites, but then they find these skulls and bones inside.
Let me guess, not necessarily Native American remains.
Well, ethnologists debate if the remains are Caucasian, adding another layer of mystery to who or what was there first.
Okay, so into this deeply cursed landscape, this disturbing figure, Wilbur Whately, is born. Let's talk about him. The circumstances around his birth, his childhood, it's just bizarre from the get-go.
Oh, completely bizarre. So Wilbur Whately, born 5 a.m., Sunday, February 2nd, 1913. Candlemas.
Significant date.
Very. Noted because the noises in the hills had sounded and all the dogs of the countryside had barked persistently throughout the night before. Like an omen.
Yeah.
His mother is Lavinia Whately. She's 35, described as somewhat deformed, unattractive albino woman from this, decadent Whately line. Lives with her aged, half-insane father, old Whately.
The one with the wizardry rumors?
That's him. Whispers about him from his youth. Lavinia has no known husband, but she's weirdly proud of this dark, goatish-looking infant. Keeps muttering these curious prophecies about his powers, his future. She never went to school, but she's full of this disjointed scraps of ancient lore from her dad.
And the birth itself.
A hideous screaming that echoed above the hill noises and the dogs barking. No doctor, no midwife, just the family. And old Whately's reaction, it's really strange. He goes from being feared to, well, kind of fearful of something, but also proud.
Proud of the baby.
Yeah, especially about the paternity. He basically tells people, I don't care what folks think. If Lavinia's boy looked like his pa, he wouldn't look like nothing ye expect. He hints the father is as good as any husband this side of Aylesbury and linked to the hills.
And then the prophecy.
Right. He finishes with, let me tell you something. Someday you folks will hear a child of Lavinia's calling its father's name on the top of Sentinel Hill, which is just chilling, given everything else.
That's a heavy prediction to lay down. And it wasn't just the birth, right? His growth, his development was unnatural. And the thing with the livestock...
This is where it gets really unnerving, because you start wondering, what exactly is growing up in that house? So from Wilbur's birth up until 1928, the Whateleys are constantly buying cattle.
Lots of cattle.
Tons. But their barn never seems overcrowded. The herd stays small, and the animals look awful. Anemic, bloodless-looking specimens. People notice these odd wounds or sores on them, like incisions.
Okay, that's disturbing.
It gets worse. They notice similar sores about the throats of the gray, unshaven old man and his slatternly, crinkly-haired albino daughter.
Wait, on old Whately and Lavinia, too?
Yeah, implying something monstrous is feeding on both the cattle and maybe even them.
Oh, that's grotesque.
And Wilbur himself, his growth is phenomenal. 3 months old, he's the size and strength of a year-old. 7 months, he's walking on his own.
That's incredibly fast.
Unnaturally fast. Then on Halloween, when he's maybe, 8 or 9 months old, someone sees him, seemingly naked, running sturdily up that hill ahead of his mother, near that old stone altar.
Running up the hill. Already.
And after that, he's never subsequently seen alive and conscious without complete and tightly buttoned attire. Gets angry or scared if his clothes get messed up. Like he's hiding something.
Definitely hiding something. And his speech.
By 11 months, he's talking. And not baby talk. Full sentences, mature vocabulary, no lisp. It's somewhat remarkable. But his voice has this elusive element wholly unpossessed by Dunwich. Maybe his intonation, or even the text suggests, the internal organs that produced the spoken sounds.
Whoa, like he's physically different inside.
That's the implication. His face looks mature too, precociously shaped nose, large, dark, almost Latin eyes. Gives him this air of quasi-adulthood and well-nigh preternatural intelligence. But he's also exceedingly ugly, with goatish or animalistic features. Thick lips, yellowish skin, coarse hair, oddly long ears.
Goatish. That description keeps coming up.
It does. And dogs. They abhorred the boy. Hated him instantly. He had to start carrying a pistol just to defend himself against them.
Animals often know, don't they?
Seems like it here. And meanwhile, old Whately is out there, reportedly shrieking the dreadful name of Yog Sothoth in the midst of a circle of stones with a great book open in his arms. So, normal family stuff.
Right, just a typical evening in Dunwich. It sounds like the farmhouse itself wasn't just a backdrop, but almost like an incubator. What was old Whately doing to the house? What did that suggest?
Yeah, incubator is a good word. Gets really interesting here.
Mm-hmm.
Old Whatley, despite being old and sometimes rambling, starts doing all this carpentry, major work.
Around the time Wilbur was born?
Right around then. First, he fixes up one of the tool sheds, puts clapboards on it, fits it with a stout new lock. Then he tackles the abandoned upper story of the main house. It's this big peaked roof section, the back part buried right into the hillside.
Okay.
And he tightly boards up all the windows in that whole upper section, completely seals it off. He also sets up a room downstairs for Wilbur, lining it with shelves for all those rotting ancient books he had.
Preparing for Wilbur's education.
Seems like it. Old Whatley says the boy's fitting to make better use of him, the books are to be all of his learning, clearly grooming him for something specific involving this forbidden knowledge.
And the upper floor changes? Anything else weird there?
Well, yeah. So by September 1914, Wilbur's about 19 months old now, looks like a 4-year-old. Talking fluently, the house restoration is done. But get this, one of the upper windows, in the back gable end against the hill, has been replaced with a solid plank door.
A door. Leading where?
Leading outside. And they built a cleated wooden runway sloping up to it from the ground level.
A runway, like for moving something big in or out.
Exactly what it sounds like.
Okay.
And right after this is finished, they abandon that locked tool shed they'd fixed up earlier. Someone goes in later and smells this singular odor, the same stench people notice near the Indian stone circles on the hills.
Okay, so whatever was maybe in the shed moved into the sealed upper story of the house, accessed by this weird runway.
That's the strong implication. The house wasn't just being restored, it was being prepared, modified for something large and something that smelled ancient and wrong.
So the house is prepped. Wilbur's growing unnaturally fast. What happens next? Does the weirdness escalate?
It absolutely does. The mysterious hill noises start getting louder, steadier. On May Eve, 1915, there are actual tremors felt miles away in Aylesbury. The following Halloween, underground rumblings that sync up with bursts of flame from Sentinel Hill. Locals blame them Whatley's doings.
They're starting to connect the dots.
They are. And Wilbur, he keeps growing uncannily. By age 4, he looks like a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
He reads constantly but talks less, getting this settled taciturnity and a real dawning look of evil in his goatish face.
He's becoming more menacing.
Definitely. He starts muttering unfamiliar jargon, chanting these bizarre rhythms that literally chill anyone who overhears them. His problem with dogs gets worse. Carrying that pistol becomes essential for him.
And inside the house, what are visitors experiencing?
Well, callers often find Lavinia alone downstairs, while upstairs in the sealed-off section, they hear odd cries and footsteps, heavy footsteps.
What does Lavinia say?
She never explains what her father and Wilbur are doing up there, but one time, a fish peddler tries the locked door to the stairway going up, and Lavinia turns pale. He later said he heard what sounded like a horse stamping on that floor above.
A horse inside the house.
That's what he heard. So you put that together, the horse sound, the weird runway door, the disappearing cattle. People start remembering dark, old legends about strange things that are called out of the earth when a bullock is sacrificed to certain gods.
Oh, man. So they think whatever's upstairs is eating the cattle.
That's the terrifying implication. And dogs. They don't just hate Wilbur anymore. They start hating and fearing the entire Whalley property. Won't go near it.
Smart dogs. Did this attract outside attention?
Eventually, yes. In 1917, the government investigates Dunwich for wholesale regional decadence because so many local men are unfit for the draft. Reporters latch onto the Whateleys. Wilbur's crazy growth, old Whately's magic, the weird books, the sealed second story, the hill noises.
So it becomes public knowledge, kind of?
Sort of. Wilbur's 4.5 then, but the reporters note he looked like a lad of 15. He's got facial hair starting, his voice is breaking. Someone notes that queer stench is trickling down from the sealed upper spaces. Same smell as the old tool shed in the stone circles.
And the gold.
Right. The press also makes a big deal about old Wheatley paying for all that cattle in gold pieces of extremely ancient date. Where's that coming from?
Good question. Okay, fast forward a few years. More changes to the house.
Yes. Around 1923, Wilbur's 10 now, but looks fully adult, bearded face, the whole deal. There's a second great siege of carpentry going on inside the sealed upper part of the house.
What were they doing now?
Based on the discarded lumber fat outside, it looked like they'd knocked out all the partitions and even removed the attic floor.
Wait, removed the floor?
Yeah, leaving just one vast open void between the ground story and the peaked roof. One enormous single space. They also tore down the central chimney and just stuck in a flimsy tin stovepipe.
Why would they do that? Unless Whatever was in there needed uninterrupted vertical space, a lot of space.
Exactly. It wasn't a renovation anymore. It was making room for something colossal.
Okay, the house is basically becoming this giant container. The timeline moves into the mid-1920s. Things escalate further, right? Old Wackley's death.
Yeah, things take an even darker turn. What's really chilling about old Watley's decline is how he seems to predict it.
Yeah.
Spring of 1924, he notices more and more whippoorwills around.
The soul catcher.
Right. He takes it as a sign his time is up. Says, they whistle just in tune with my breathing now, and I guess they're getting ready to catch my soul. He even says their behavior after he dies will show if they got him or not.
Creepy. And his actual death.
It's Lammas night, August 1st, 1924. Dr. Houghton is called, finds old Watley dying. And from that vacant abyss overhead, that huge empty space they created, comes this disquieting suggestion of rhythmical surging or lapping, as of the waves on some level beach.
Lapping sounds from upstairs.
Yeah. And outside, a seemingly limitless legion of whippoorwills piping away, timed diabolically, to the old man's dying breaths.
Oh, that's horrifying imagery. Did he say anything at the end?
His last words to Wilbur are basically instructions. Terrifying instructions. More space, Willie, more space soon. You grows. And that grows faster.
That grows faster, meaning the thing upstairs.
Almost certainly. He says, it'll be ready to sarve you soon, boy. Open up the gates to Yog Sothoth with the long chant that you'll find on page 751 of the complete edition, and then put a match to the prison.
Page 751, he's talking about one of those old books. The Necronomicon, maybe?
Sounds very likely. He tells Wilbur to feed it regularly, watch the quantity, don't let it grow too fast for the space, because if it busts quarters or gets out before he opens the Yog Sothoth, it's all over and no use.
So it needs to be controlled until the right moment.
Exactly. He adds, only them from beyond can make it multiply and work. Only them, the old uns as wants to come back. Then he dies.
And the whippoorwills.
They immediately fall silent. Total silence. But Wilbur, he just chuckles and mutters, they didn't get him.
Chilling. So, old Watley's gone. Wilbur's in charge now. Does he continue this project?
He does, and he keeps changing. By this time, he's become this scholar of really tremendous erudition, but it's all focused on forbidden lore, writing to librarians everywhere, trying to get access to rare and forbidden books.
Still trying to learn the secrets.
Yes, and back in Dunwich, he's more and more hated and dreaded. There are whispers about certain youthful disappearances. People who vanish.
No. He's involved.
The implication is strong. He silences the talk with fear, or by using that ancient gold to buy more cattle, maybe as hush money, or just to keep feeding whatever's upstairs. And he's still growing. His height reaches more than 7 feet.
Still growing past 7 feet.
Yeah. And even his own mother starts to fear him. In 1926, Lavinia tells a neighbor, Mamie Bishop, she's afraid of Wilbur. She says, there's more about him as I knows than I can tell you, Mamie, and nowadays there's more nor what I know myself. Like, he's becoming something even she doesn't understand anymore.
That's terrifying. What happens to Lavinia?
That Halloween, the hill noises are louder than ever. Fire burns on Sentinel Hill again, and vast flocks of whippoorwills gather near the farmhouse, their calls bursting into this pandemoniac cachinnation, just chaos. After that night, Lavinia Whitley is never seen again.
Gone. Just like the Reverend. Probably Wilbur.
It seems very likely Wilbur silenced her or sacrificed her. The following year, 1927, Wilbur repairs some sheds and moves all his books into them. He starts boarding up the ground floor windows of the main house, removing more partitions inside there. He actually moves out to live in one of the sheds himself.
Why move out?
It suggests the farmhouse is becoming completely uninhabitable, entirely given over to whatever is growing inside. He looks unusually worried and tremulous. And he's still growing, approaching 8 feet tall now.
Worried. Maybe things are getting out of his control.
That's a very strong possibility, which leads directly into his next desperate move.
Right. This brings us to a really pivotal moment. Wilbur's desperate quest for that specific book, the Necronomicon, and how Dr. Armitage gets involved. This feels like the turning point.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So Wilbur, now this giant, nearly 8-foot-tall figure, described as shabby, dirty, bearded, and uncouth, travels to Miskatonic University in Arkham.
Arkham, the famous Lovecraftian city.
The very one. He goes there specifically to consult their copy of the hideous Necronomicon of the mad Arab Alhazred. He even brings his grandfather's copy, a priceless but imperfect English version, translated by Dr. D, to compare it with the university's Latin original.
And he's after that specific page, 751.
Exactly. He needs that specific passage old Wheatley mentioned. He actually confesses to Dr. Henry Armitage, the head librarian who's described as very erudite and had once visited the Whaley farm years ago, that he's looking for a kind of formula or incantation containing the frightful name Yog-Sothoth.
He just admits it.
Pretty much. He needs help finding the complete version of the chant. This isn't just about some obscure magic. It's clearly about accessing something fundamental, something powerful and alien connected to this Yog-Sothoth.
And Armitage understands the significance.
Oh, yes. Armitage translates a passage from the Latin Necronomicon right then, and it lays out the core cosmic horror.
What does it say?
It says things like, "Nor is it to be thought that man is either the oldest or the last of Earth's masters. Then the old ones were, the old ones are, and the old ones shall be, not in the spaces we know, but between them."
Between the spaces we know.
Yeah.
Like dimensions.
Exactly. They walk serene and primal, undimensioned, and to us unseen. And then the key part. Yog-Sothoth knows the gate. Yog-Sothoth is the gate. Yog-Sothoth is the key and guardian of the gate. Past, present, future, all are one in Yog-Sothoth.
Whoa. So Yog-Sothoth isn't just a name, it's a being that is the gateway.
That's the terrifying context. The text goes on to say the old ones are known by their smell, remember the stench, and by the features of those they have begotten on mankind. Like Wilbur.
Oh, right, the lineage.
Exactly. It says they walk unseen in foul and lonely places where the words have been spoken and the rites howled through. They can bend the forest and crush the city. Mentions Kulu as their cousin. And they wait patient and potent, for here shall they reign again.
That is pure cosmic dread right there, especially connecting it back to Wilbur. What did Armitage make of all this?
It was like a switch flipped for Armitage, a chilling realization. He connects the dots. The Necronomicon text, Dunwich, Wilbur's dubious birth, the likely murder of Lavinia. He suddenly feels Wilbur's like the spawn of another planet or dimension, only partly human, linked to these black gulfs of essence.
So he sees the true danger.
Instantly. When Wilbur tries to borrow the Necronomicon, saying he needs to try under certain conditions that I can't get here, Armitage absolutely refuses. He understands the catastrophic risk of giving such a being the key to such blasphemous outer spheres.
Good call by Armitage. How does Wilbur react?
He suggests maybe Harvard University would be less fussy, which just confirms Armitage's fears. After Wilbur leaves, Armitage feels the intruding horror almost physically lingering in the room, and that smell. Unholy and unidentifiable stench. Same as at the Wheatley farm.
The smell again.
Armitage mutters, "Inbreeding. Great God, what simpletons." He realizes it's not just degeneracy, it's something else. He starts wondering, what cursed, shapeless influence on or off this three-dimensioned Earth was Wilbur Whatley's father? He connects Wilbur's Candlemas birth to hill noises from way back in 1912.
So Armitage starts investigating.
He dives deep, collects all the data he can on Wilbur, the formless presences, corresponds with Dr. Houghton back in Dunwich, studies the specific Necronomicon passages Wilbur wanted, consults experts in ancient lore. His initial academic curiosity turns into acute spiritual fear. He feels something must be done.
He tries to stop Wilbur from getting the book elsewhere.
Yes, he sends out warnings of the keenest intensity to all librarians who might have a copy, especially Harvard. And it works. He thwarts Wilbur's later attempt to borrow or copy it from Harvard. Armitage knows the stakes are reality itself.
Okay, so Wilbur failed to get the complete spell, the key. But the horror back in Dunwich, the thing in the farmhouse, it's still growing, right? And then, 1928, it finally erupts. How does Wilbur meet his end? And what's revealed?
All right, the actual Dunwich Horror doesn't start its rampage until later in 1928. But before that, Wilbur makes one last, desperate attempt. On August 3rd, back at Miskatonic University, Armitage is woken by the college watchdog, going absolutely berserk, followed by this unearthly scream from the library.
He tried to break in.
He did. Armitage rushes over with two colleagues, Professors Rice and Morgan. Inside, the air is thick with that frightful stench, and they find Wilbur, dead. Almost 9 feet tall now, sprawled on the floor, torn up by the watchdog.
Killed by the dog.
Mauled by the dog, yeah. Lying in a fetid pool of greenish-yellow ichor and terry stickiness. His chest is still heaving, in monstrous unison with the mad piping of the expectant whippoorwills outside.
The whippoorwills are there too, even in Arkham.
Even in Arkham, waiting, and then they see him. Really see him, his clothes are torn away.
And what do they see? What is he?
It's indescribable almost. The text says, partly human beyond a doubt, with human-like hands and head, and that goatish, chinless face of the Whateleys, but the torso and lower body, teratologically fabulous.
Meaning monstrously deformed.
Beyond deformed. His chest has this leathery, reticulated hide like a crocodile. His back is piebald with yellow and black, like certain snakes. Below the waist, covered in coarse black fur with a score of long, greenish-gray tentacles with red, sucking mouths just hanging limply.
Tentacles. Suckers.
Yes, and rudimentary eyes on each hip. Instead of a tail, this trunk or feeler, maybe an undeveloped mouth or throat. His limbs look like the hind legs of prehistoric Earth's giant saurians. Dinosaurs.
My God. So he was literally part monster.
Completely inhuman below the waist.
All right.
And no real blood, just that fetid greenish-yellow ichor. His dying words are just fragments from the Necronomicon. Yog-Sothoth.
Yog-Sothoth.
He calls the name as he dies.
Yes. And the second he dies, the whippoorwills outside just stop instantly. These vast clouds of feathery watchers rise up and race away, frantic like they were cheated of their prey.
Because he wasn't fully human, or because of who his father was. Probably both. And then, right before their eyes, his body starts to dissolve. Shrinkage and disintegration. By the time the medical examiner gets there, there's just a sticky whitish mass on the painted boards. The smell is almost gone.
Just melted away.
Melted away. Confirming he had no skull or bony skeleton, at least in any true or stable sense. He had, as the text chillingly puts it, taken somewhat after his unknown father.
That confirms the truly alien parentage. But this horrifying reveal, it's just the prologue, isn't it? The real Dunwich Horror is still back in the farmhouse. And Armitage had found Wilbur's diary.
Exactly. Wilbur's death is horrific, but it's not the main event. Meanwhile, Armitage had been working on Wilbur's diary. And it raises that critical question, what was Wilbur's actual terrifying purpose?
What did the diary reveal?
It was written in this weird artificial alphabet, like a cipher. Armitage eventually cracked. It turned out to be English, just written very strangely. It showed Wilbur's bizarre mix of deep occult erudition and general illiteracy. Like, he knew cosmic secrets but couldn't spell properly.
What kind of entries were there?
One entry is just shocking, dated November 26, 1916. Wilbur was only 3.5 then, but lived 12 or 13. He writes, "Today learned the Aklo for the Sabaoth."
Aklo, Sabaoth, what are those?
Exactly. Unknown, alien terms. Lovecraft uses them to signify knowledge from beyond human understanding. Wilbur continues, "That upstairs more ahead of me than I had thought it would be, and is not like to have much earth brain."
That upstairs? The thing in the house, it has no earth brain.
Meaning it's utterly alien, presumably. He mentions shooting a dog that bothered him. And sends, "Grandfather kept me saying the dough formula last night, and I think I saw the inner city at the 2 magnetic poles." More bizarre cosmic stuff. He plans to go to these poles when the Earth is cleared off.
Cleared off? Cleared off of what?
People. Life. He writes, "They from the air told me at Sabbath that it will be years before I can clear off the Earth." He needs to learn all the angles of the planes and formulas between the jar and the Nenliar. Again, incomprehensible terms for alien mathematics or rituals.
And they from the air. Who are they?
Beings from outside our dimension, presumably. He says, "They from outside will help, but they cannot take body without human blood," which explains the cattle, maybe the disappearances.
Oh, God. Blood sacrifices.
Seems like it. He looks at the thing upstairs. That upstairs looks it'll have the right cast. I can see it a little when I make the Urish sign or blow the power of Ibn Ghazi at it, and thinks it resembles them at May Eve on the hill. The entities summoned in rituals. He wonders how he will look when the Earth is cleared and there are no Earth beings on it. Mentions he might be transfigured because there's much of outside in him to work on.
This is a plan for planetary genocide, orchestrated by alien entities using this family.
That's exactly what Armitage realized. He was in a cold sweat of terror reading it, warned his wife away from his notes. Later he becomes delirious, talking about frantic appeals that something in a boarded-up farmhouse be destroyed, raving about a plan for the extirpation of the entire human race and all animal and vegetable life by this terrible elder race of beings from another dimension.
He knew the full scope.
He shouted that the world was in danger, that the elder things wished to strip it and drag it away from the solar system into some other plane or phase of entity. He knew the Wetleys meant to let them in, and the worst of all is left. The thing in a house.
With this terrifying knowledge, Armitage, Rice, and Morgan knew they had to act, now. What happened when the true horror, the thing Wilbur left behind, finally broke loose in Dunwich?
The Dunwich Horror itself started its rampage on September 9th, 1928, just weeks after Wilbur died. The hills rumbled again, dogs went crazy, people woke up to that peculiar stench, stronger than ever.
How did it manifest?
First, a hired boy, Luther Brown, comes stumbling back terrified from an errand. Says, "Sudden been there." Smelled like thunder, pushed back bushes and trees like a house been moved along of it.
A house moving through the woods.
That's the scale. He describes great round prints as big as barrelheads, all sunk down deep like an elephant had been along, only there's a sight more than 4 feet could make. Huge, multi-footed tracks, covered with lines spreading out like big palm leaf fans, propounded down into the rud.
Bizarre tracks. What happened next?
News comes that old Whately's house is just gone. All blowed up, with the timbers scattered around like they'd been dynamite inside. Whatever was inside had broken out. The bottom floor was covered in that tar-like stuff that smells awful, and the same huge round tracks led away from the wreckage into the meadows.
It destroyed the house getting out.
Blew it apart from the inside. Then Sally Sawyer reports seeing the tracks going through the meadows, leaving a great swath wider than a barn, matted down.
Yeah.
And Bishop's cows, found in an awful shape. Half gone, the rest sucked most dry of blood. With the same sores seen before, she cries out, "Something abroad has had an order to be abroad."
It's invisible and it's feeding.
Invisible, colossal, and hungry. Next, it attacks the Elmer Fry farmhouse nearby, just demolishes it, reduces it to an eggshell. Nothing left but the stench, the tarry stickiness, and the tracks leading away. It even scales a sheer stony cliff of almost complete verticality on Sentinel Hill. It defies physics.
Just moving unstoppably across the landscape. This leads to the final confrontation, doesn't it, on Sentinel Hill? What was this monster when they finally saw it, and how did they stop it?
Right. Sentinel Hill, the place old Whately prophesied about. Armitage, Rice, and Morgan track it there. Armitage knows it's invisible, but he's prepared a special powder based on his research, something to make it show up for a second.
They need to see it to fight it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They get some locals positioned with telescopes. One of them, Curtis Whately, ironically, a relative, looks through his telescope and just starts screaming.
What does he see?
First, just a gray cloud, a cloud about the size of a moderately large building. But then the powder must have worked, because he describes it. It's horrific. Bigger than a barn, all made of squirming ropes, whole thing sort of shaped like a hen's egg, bigger than anything, with dozens of legs like hogsheads that half shut up when they step.
Legs like barrels, made of ropes.
Yeah. Nothing solid about it all, like jelly, and made of separate wriggling ropes pushed close together. Great bulging eyes all over it. 10 or 20 mouths or trunks are sticking out all along the sides, big as stovepipes, and all a-tossing and opening and shutting, all gray, with kind of blue or purple rings.
It sounds impossible, like a mass of living tentacles and mouths.
It is. But the worst part, Curtis screams, and God in heaven, that half face on top. Then he just collapses from the shock.
A half face on top of that mass.
That's what he saw. While he's down, the Arkham men, Armitage and his colleagues, they start chanting the spell they prepared from the Necronomicon, raising their arms rhythmically. The sky darkens to purplish, lightning flashes, the ground rumbles.
A counter ritual.
Yes. And from the altar stone on the peak where the creature is, these deep, cracked, raucous vocal sounds boom out, getting clearer, half-articulate words. It's trying to speak, or call for help. Both, it seems. Its cries gather renewed force and coherence, becoming recognizable English words mixed with the alien ones. Help, Father, Yog Sothoth. It's calling its father, Yog Sothoth.
Yeah.
Just like old Whately predicted.
Exactly. And right then, a terrific report splits the air, a cataclysmic peal of thunder, a single lightning bolt shot from the purple zenith to the altar stone. And this great tidal wave of viewless force and indescribable stench sweeps down the hill, knocking down trees, scattering dead whippoorwills everywhere.
And the old creature?
Gone. Armitage explains the thing has gone forever, split up into what it was originally made of and can never exist again. He says it was an impossibility in a normal world, only the least fraction was really matter in any sense we know.
So it wasn't really physical in our terms. Mostly not. Armitage says it was like its father, and most of it has gone back to him in some vague realm or dimension outside our material universe. A realm out of which only the most accursed rites of human blasphemy could ever have called him for a moment on the hills.
And the face? Curtis confirms what he saw.
When Curtis comes to, he confirms the horror of that half face on top of it, with the red eyes and crinkly albino hair and no chin, like the Whateleys. He tries to describe the whole thing. It was a octopus, centipede, spider kind of thing, but there was a half-shaped man's face on top of it, and it looked like Wizard Whately's, only he was yards and yards across.
Wizard Whately's face. Old Whately. No, wait.
Old Zebulon Whately, another local, remembered the prophecy then. 15 years gone. I hear what old Whately say is how Someday we'd hear a child of Lavanese a-calling its father's name on the top of Sentinel Hill. The child calling was the monster.
And Armitage reveals the final truth.
Yes. He explains how horror was mostly a kind of force that doesn't belong in our part of space, acting by other laws than those of our sort of nature. And then the final shocker. It was his twin brother, but it looked more like the father than he did.
Twin brother. Wilbur had a twin. That was the thing upstairs.
That was it. Raised by the Whateleys for a terrible part in the doings that were to come, to wipe out the human race and drag the Earth off to some nameless place. Armitage advises them to dynamite the altar stone and pull down all the stone rings on the hills to close the gateways for good.
Wow. Just wow. So, wrapping this up, what does this incredible, terrifying story mean for you listening? We've gone deep into this tale of, well, ancient evil basically breaking through into our world. Starts with the family, steeped in this forbidden knowledge, ends with a cosmic showdown.
Yeah.
It really is a chilling reminder, isn't it, of how thin that line might be between our reality, what we think we know, and these unknown forces just beyond it.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this deep dive, I think it really highlights Lovecraft's unique kind of horror. It's not just, jump scares or monsters in the closet.
Yeah.
It's about the terrifying insignificance of humanity in this vast, uncaring cosmos.
The cosmic dread.
Exactly. And the idea that knowledge itself, especially this forbidden ancient knowledge, can be incredibly dangerous. In the wrong hands, whether ignorant or malevolent, it can literally tear apart the fabric of existence. It exposes us to things, entities that operate by completely alien rules.
The Dunwich Horror paints such a vivid, almost too vivid picture of what happens when those gates, those dimensions are opened, even just a crack. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other unseen things might still be lurking out there, just beyond our everyday senses, maybe waiting for another gateway, another Wilbur Whateley to open the way? Or perhaps they're already subtly shaping our world in ways we just can't comprehend.
That's the truly disturbing thought.
What if the real horrors aren't just out there in space or other dimensions, but they're already here, manifesting in ways we're just completely ill-equipped to even perceive, let alone confront? Gives you something to think about.